Hello and welcome to another little tutorial for FabAcademy molding and casting. In this case I'm going to show you how to model a little Lego piece just as an example. So I googled for a picture of a Lego figure. I downloaded the image and saved it in my working folder. I'm going to model in Blender, but of course you can use any other 3D modeling program that you want to use. I deleted the default cube. And nowadays you can just drag and drop a picture into Blender and it will appear as a plane in the 3D viewport. I duplicated it and made my front and side view, and now I'm adjusting the default cube to fit the size of my Lego piece. In the beginning I also had to align the two planes so that they're at the same height. And now you can see adding a cylinder for modeling the legs. And this is all just very rough. There's no exact dimensions nor very high precision in modeling, but it hopefully serves you as a guide on what is necessary for making a little model that we can mill and cast. So now I extruded the legs and added a sphere for making the arms. In this case I ignored the fact that the arms are slightly bent, so I just made them straight, which now leads to some confusion because the view is a bit different. Now I'm making the hands, which is just a big cylinder and a small cylinder that gets cut away from it, and another little cube that cuts out the fingers. Here you can see me modeling the head. The head is just a profile that gets spun around the z-axis, which is a little bit hard to see with a white background, but as you can see I managed, and I increased the number of segments, and here is something that resembles a Lego head. Now I'm merging the vertices on top and on the sides. This is the part where I boolean the outside of the hands from the inside and add a little cube that also gets cut away. Here's our hand, and now I need to attach them to the arm, and I'm going to use the boolean functions a lot, which we can use for adding or subtracting pieces to one another. In this case I duplicated the legs, made them very narrow, and now I'm just copying the outer faces in order to have a little strip that I can give some thickness, and this is going to get cut away from the legs in order to have this little gap in between the legs. Unfortunately this gap is a lot thinner than the 3mm mill that we're going to use, so they're actually not going to appear in the final model. But yeah, you can see I had some difficulties, didn't really cut the way I wanted in the first place, and then I was left with some bad geometry, so basically I had to start all over. But yeah, hope it's still understandable how I did this. And now I'm starting to boolean together the arms and the hands, and I mirror them to the other side, and piece by piece unify all the pieces to be one solid model instead of several separated ones. Now the right arm and the body are together, now the head and the left arm are part of it, and now we have one solid model that we can export as an STL file. Do not forget, export always just the selected. If not, every piece of garbage that is still lying in your viewport is going to appear in the STL as well. This was my first mistake. Then I had to get the scale right. Thanks to Google I could find the dimensions of a Lego piece. And now I added the square is the size of our wax block, which is a good visual reference, so you know more or less size you're dealing with. And now you can see me modeling the little box that is gonna split our Lego piece in half. Unfortunately, I did the splitting a little bit too early, so you can see me in a second putting them back together again, because it makes more sense to model the pins that keep everything aligned first and then make the split. So I realigned everything. I added my pins. In this case, they're just little spheres, and you can see the little cylinder, which is 3 millimeters in size, and you can see me moving it all around my pins to make sure that the milling bit gets all around it. And once I'm happy, I duplicate the pins, and I flip the whole thing and copy it and put it straight again. So now my pins should be perfectly aligned. And they also fit in the wax block, which is nice. And yeah, so now this is an unnecessary step, but I just made a box just for completeness. And I also cut away the pins on one side and I added them on the other side. And yeah, now we should be ready to export our STL and import it into FabModules for creating the G-code for the milling machine. Now I'm just tidying up a little bit, like making it look nice. Since I scaled the model, now my original planes are not to size. Yeah, I think I'm just making them a bit bigger so they are visible. And I organized everything into layers, or in this case now they're called collections. So I made a collection for each of the items, and now they're hidden. And now you can see me importing it into FabModules, adjusting the units to inches in 25.4. And at this point, when generating the image, I should have realized that something is wrong. You can see me rotating this around a lot because I could tell that something is a bit weird. But the weirdest part is that the head is just one color. So once I did the finish pass, I realized, okay, for some reason my head is square, something's wrong. So I went back and at this point I think it was still wrong. So I changed the size, I lowered the DPI, and you can see that the head is still just one color. But finally I got to recalculating the normals, and this was the necessary trick for the head to appear in colors. Ah no, I'm still stepping in the dark. Yeah, another render and still looks bad, and now I did the recalculate normals, and now yes, the head is round, and I can calculate the roughing with a 3 mm end mill, and I can calculate the finishing pass, which is gonna take a while, but yeah, just measuring the height, for making sure that my resin has some space to expand. And yeah, here you can see the finish with a smaller end mill, which looks alright.